Hey, boys and girls. So, your lucky homework tonight is that you get to spend more time with me. You should all be excited, and I'm sure you are. And we're also going to start developing the setting, as you can see down here at number 4, the setting of your fantasy story. So, if you'll start by filling in your goal sheet um, and reflecting on the goal and thinking about how you feel and what you know about orienting your reader with the setting by adding a lot of detail. After you've reflected on it and you've given yourself a 1, 2, 3, or 4 about your knowledge, then I want you to also assess your or predict your effort that you're willing to put forth with actually trying to orient your reader by adding these details into your setting. So if you need to pause for a second, go ahead and fill in your goal sheet, and then you can press play to continue. So just think to yourself as you answer these questions and give yourself a thumbs up if you have ever visited Mars, seen a fairy, fought a dragon, lived in a magical kingdom. And if you found that you gave yourself a thumbs up, then the chances are you might have experienced those things in a book or in a movie, in which case the author or the director did a nice job at orienting you with the setting in their piece of work. So what we're going to do really quickly is we're going to take a look at a clip from Harry Potter, another fantasy story and movie. And what I want you to think about are what are different things that we need to include in our setting as you're watching this. So don't just pay attention to what's happening, but paying attention to the setting. What's included? What are they included in these in this clip?
Name. You will come forth. I shall place the sorting hat on your head, and you will be sorted into your houses. Hermione Granger?
Oh no. Okay, relax. Mental, that one. I'm telling you.
Right then. Right. Okay. Gryffindor!
Draco Malfoy.
Slytherin!
There's not a witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin.
Susan Bones.
Harry, what is it?
Where shall I go?
Nothing. Nothing, I'm fine.
Let's see. I know. Hufflepuff!
Alright, so we're going to stop the video here. And I want you to think about, like we said, the question here is what are different things that we should include in our setting? So some things that you might have noticed. Our number 1 is a time period. So while the characters look like people we can relate to, it might be that their clothing and the setting of the building that they were in, the school that they were in, may not have looked exactly like it does now. So we might think that the time period might be something other than present day times. The season, it might be a little bit difficult to tell in this. If you knew background of the story, you might know that it's the beginning of school, so it's probably the end of summer, the beginning of the fall. They were all in longer robes, so it looks as though the weather must not have been too warm during that time. Something else that you might have noticed is a place, and again, being as specific as we can, we know that there's not necessarily a country, a city, or a farm that we can relate this to, but we could tell that it was a school. Again, if especially if you had prior knowledge about that. And it was in a location where I saw plates that kids were eating, so it might have been some type of cafeteria or hall where people gathered together. But it was someplace that was definitely specific. An object seen, you just heard me list some of those. We saw the banquet tables and lots of students together. So it's a place where people can get together. And those are all things that, again, just like we've been talking about, that we've seen before, that we can relate to. So the setting feels like it's real, even though we saw a hat that was talking and deciding which house the students would belong to. There was enough in there that was realistic that we could say, you know what, I believe that this is actually happening. So now we're going to want to go ahead and we're going to want to think about these same types of things within our own story. So if you head to my example, you can move down to the 5th page. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll see where I start working on my setting. So it says that we orient our reader with a setting by adding a lot of detail. That was the teaching point for today. So just in 1 second, this little guy keeps beeping. So we say the time period for, again, now I'm thinking about my story, not about Harry Potter, is mine is going to happen in modern times. It'll happen now, 2014. It works. The season is the summer because I'm where I'm going to be traveling, so I'm going to make this as relative and real as possible. The place, the country, city, etc., I'm going to have it take place in the United States, specifically in New York and an airport called JFK. And it'll be actually moving from that airport into the airplane. So it's very specific, and it's all realistic. Objects that I see, because it will be taking place mostly on the plane, are going to be the rows and rows of seats, the video screens on the back of the seat in front of me. Other passengers I see my backpack and my laptop or my iPad, and I can see flight attendants. I could add on to this, but I want to stick to things that I know that I might include in my story. And some actions that are happening during this as well, as we saw taking place during that movie trailer, is that people are fastening their seatbelts, flight attendants are checking on passengers. It's me taking my seat, putting my bag away, looking around. So that's the idea, the big components for my setting. And these things that we see right here listed are the same that we said that we had noticed taking place during that scene from Harry Potter. So now that I've got this, I'm going to want to try to write, again, almost like a little blurb or an entry, a couple sentences, a paragraph about what's going on in this situation to set the scene. So I've done this below this, and again, you've got access to this document so you can see my example. So I wrote, on the plane in JFK, NYC, New York City, in the middle of the plane, the middle row, the middle section, it's the worst spot. There are people on each side of me. It's not easy to get out if I needed to. The walls are gray, the seats are blue. There's a video screen on the back of the seat in front of me that shows where we are on a map. It's 7 p.m., so there's a little natural light, but it's getting darker. People are turning the lights on above their seats. Flight attendants are walking by one last time to make sure people have their seat belts on. I can see my backpack with my laptop in it under the seat in front of me. So hopefully after reading that, you might even get in your mind a picture or a movie in your mind, just like we saw from the Harry Potter clip, of exactly what's going on. And if you closed your eyes for a second and thought about it, you might end up seeing something that looks like this. And that's kind of what the picture that I was sort of trying to paint from my words, that I was hoping that you might get in your mind. So that's our goal for today. What I'd like you to try to do is come up with this same thing. Come up with these different factors that might come into play, or that should come into your play, so that you've got a believable setting. And then after doing that, try to set a scene. Try to get your reader acquainted and familiar with where exactly your story is taking place. Okay? So that's your homework for tonight. I look forward to reading what you've got when you come in on Wednesday. Good luck, and again, if you need any examples, remember that you can access my example from your Google Docs as well. Okay? Good luck.